So I am coming up on 100 hours of a straight playthrough of World of Warcraft Classic, which has recently evolved to World of Warcraft Classic Burning Crusade. And as I approach the end of this 100-hour journey, I have been looking back and thinking about the different pros and cons of this game, the different things that I've loved about it, the things that disliked about it, and the things that was kind of good and bad. So I went through and I came up with 3 things that I loved about World of Warcraft, 3 things I didn't like about World of Warcraft, and 3 things that I thought had good and bad things about them. So the first thing that I love about World of Warcraft is the travel. The travel in this game, I absolutely love how it works, how it's structured. In my mind, the travel in World of Warcraft Classic is broken into 4 parts, and I'm going to go over them from least amount of ground covered to most amount of ground covered. So the first one in my mind is, of course, your standard running. You could also call RP walking as under the same category as running, but basically just your default movement, running, going around, doing things. This is obviously what you start with. This is where you can do it no matter how powerful you are. You can move at this pace no matter whether you're super strong or less super strong. The next tier I'm going to talk about is class skills. Certain classes also have abilities that allow you to speed up your movement. I'm most familiar with the mage because that's what I've been doing my 100 hours in, and with the mage you can blink. I absolutely love the blink for the mage. It has been a game changer for me. Every game I play now, I try to use blink, and it doesn't work. I love being able to teleport forward, and I feel like even though it doesn't feel like it because I'm doing so much running around, it has saved me so much time in traveling. The next one was a recent acquisition for me, that being only available because Burning Crusade came out, and so it became a lot more accessible. But mounts in this game allow you to go so much faster than even the class abilities allow you to go over long periods of time. Now, if you're going to race like 2 feet, obviously the blink is going to be faster. But if you're trying to race across an entire zone, the mount is going to beat you every time. This is just the first level of the mount. You don't get the second level until later. The first level is a 60% movement speed increase. The second level is a 100% movement speed increase. But the 60% is still a huge game changer in making progress. The fourth thing on the list is the fast travel system in World of Warcraft, which, funnily enough, you actually get access to right after the slowest movement in the game. This is the flight paths. The flight paths allow you to go all over the continent using a flying griffin, and it goes much faster than any regular mount would go. I love this so much better than just a quick teleport for immersion purposes, because it's very quick. It's very quick, but at the same time you're experiencing the world, you're immersed in the world, and you get to view the vastness of Azeroth. There's actually a 5th form of transportation that I completely forgot about, which is funny because I use it all the time, and that is portals and teleports. These are unique to mages, which I think is awesome that a form of transportation is unique to a specific class. Portals are things that allow you to teleport to a specific zone along with your party members. So this is like you're actually opening a gate to another part of the world. See, and then it's got this whole opening that you can see in space. And then, of course, there's teleports, which is just individual to the mage that allows you to just go to the mage. These I have used all the time. Oh my gosh, I've used them so much, and I love them, even though they are completely opposite to what I said about the fast travel system, about the flight paths, because they just teleport you directly where you need to go. Fortunately, there are not as many of them in World of Warcraft Classic. There's more in Burning Crusade, but still, there's only like 4 places you can teleport to, as opposed to the like 100 different flight paths that there are. But just having this magic ability to be able to teleport to another place in the world is so much fun. I love the travel in World of Warcraft because it really is a huge piece of the immersion. It allows you to feel like you're a part of the world, and the fact that as you progress through the game, you're able to unlock more travel and faster travel in these areas that you've already been to, rather than just completely skipping areas you've never been to and you never will be to, like in a lot of games. It allows me to really put myself in the world of Azeroth, and I love that. The next thing I wanted to talk about that I love about World of Warcraft is hardcore. Hardcore is something that was originally created by an add-on, was something that was created by fans in order to make it so that your character was deleted when it died, or deleted or was permanently dead or whatever, and then they liked it so much that Blizzard actually added it into the game, and that's actually how I really got introduced to World of Warcraft, was through the hardcore scene. And I absolutely loved playing hardcore. I absolutely loved the experience. As far as I know, World of Warcraft is really the only MMO that does it like this, where it's hardwired in that if you die, your character cannot be recreated. I don't know if that's for sure. I haven't fact-checked that, but a lot of MMOs have like full loot and stuff like that where you drop everything when you die, but actually your character being deleted when you die. As far as I know, World of Warcraft is the only thing that does that. Now, Warcraft is hard, of course. It's very difficult to level all the way. I've never leveled all the way to max level, but it was very hard for me to even level to 20. I think I only did it once or twice where I was able to hit level 20 as a hardcore character. A big part of that was because I didn't know what I was doing. I'd never really played World of Warcraft before. But I still, even for veterans players, I think it would take several attempts before you are able to hit max level or even level 20 without losing a couple of characters. But I fell in love with it anyway. I fell in love with it despite the difficulty, because it really is a hard pull towards immersion. It's like you either zone in completely to the game, or you die, and then you lose your character. You lose the hours that you put into this character. You lose all of the progression you made, and then you have to start over at square one, super weak, in order to get back to where you were and try and make progress. I would say the main thing that I complain about hardcore is just the fact that there's only so many ways you can start. If there was multiple ways to start, it would be my favorite thing of all time. If there was more than just 6 places that you could start a character. So this is something that I absolutely loved, and am so glad that I got to experience it. Now, it is an indisputable fact that World of Warcraft is the biggest MMO in the world. And one of the things that it being that provides is the world is populated. The servers are populated. There are people in the servers. If you pick the right servers, which there are several of, you can find people everywhere. There's always people doing something. There's always people partying up at multiple different levels. You can always find somebody to group up with when you're trying to do something that requires a party. And this really adds to the feeling of it being a living, breathing world that you're a part of, which it really is what an MMO is. It's a place where you can come together with a whole bunch of people and live in a fantasy world. And World of Warcraft, simply because of the population, does that. Its population is basically able to carry the game at some points just because there's so many people that you can play with. Which is funny because so many people talk about how everybody's left the game, but it's still the #1 MMO in the entire world. That's insane to think about. Now, while I do love playing World of Warcraft and I do thoroughly enjoy it, it's not a perfect game. It has its flaws. So I wanted to go over a few things that I found that I didn't like about World of Warcraft. The first thing is, this is a 20-year-old game. And it's not necessarily a problem that World of Warcraft has alone, but it's a problem that I struggle with, and that is the fact that the meta is known. Like, the best way to deal the most amount of damage and the best way to beat bosses and the exact way to do everything perfectly correct is known and memorized by so many people. And so a lot of the time it can feel like you're just following a recipe when you're playing through the game. There are even add-ons that tell you how to follow said recipe. And that helps when you want to level up fast, but it's sad in my mind that that's something that's a necessity in order to be able to feel like you're a part of the game, that you have to do the meta, that you have to follow this rigid guidelines in order to play the game at its best. I really wish that I had been in this game when it was still something being discovered, when people really had no idea what they were doing and they were just throwing spells at the enemies to try and kill them and failing and dying and trying to figure it out. That's one thing about MMOs that I have never really been able to take part in, is being able to figure out, okay, how do I do this? Now, it's kind of been that way for me because I've basically refused to do the meta, but at the same time, it's hard to follow that path when you're like partying up and people expect you to follow the meta. And when you want to do a dungeon or a raid and they're like, all right, you got to do it this way, or else you just can't play with us, you know? Which I have not really done because I don't do dungeons and raids for that exact reason. But it can't be denied that the meta in this game is a huge part of the game. It's really become an essential part of the gameplay. And like I said, this is not unique to World of Warcraft. This is how it is for a lot of MMOs that have been out for a while, is everybody knows exactly the way to do the most amount of damage. And it's really been narrowed down to push X button 3 times, then X button 4 times, and then you're doing the most amount of damage. So it's a part of the game that I struggle with. The next thing I want to talk about kind of links to the last thing, and that is a lot of people talk about how this game is about the journey. This game is about the journey. It's not about the destination like retail, the most modern version of this game is. However, I feel like this game isn't as much about the journey as it maybe used to be. I feel like there is such a huge emphasis on boosting, and a lot of people are like, oh, the leveling is the worst part of the game. Not everyone. A lot of people love leveling through this game, but there is a large piece of the population that's like, oh, you just got to get to end game, you just got to get the raid gear, you just got to get the best in slot, and you just do the bare minimum necessary in order to do that. So it's just always a push to get to the next point, to get to the next stage, to get to the next level. You're always rushing, and I'm a part of that. I mean, I'm always rushing to try and level up, and that's really part of the gameplay cycle. But I also wish there was a piece of this where I could just enjoy where I'm at. I could just be like, oh, this is a nice zone. There are some fun things to do. I'm going to stop my rush to progress, my rush to reach the end, and I'm going to enjoy this area. I'm going to do something fun in this area. But instead, it's like, okay, got to do X, got to do Y, got to do Z in order to try and hit level 60 as fast as possible. Now, from what I hear, boosting is not going to be as much of a thing in Burning Crusade, so that will happen less, but the fact that it existed in the first place is kind of a sad thing to be said about a part of the community of World of Warcraft Classic. Another thing I really don't like about World of Warcraft is how quests are handled in this game. And I think this is, again, a fault of many MMOs, and I think it's really more the fault of the MMO than the player. But it's how quests are taken care of. Like, you just walk up to an NPC, you get the quest, you don't even read the dialogue, and then you move on. You know nothing about the quest, you don't know what you're doing, you don't know why you're doing it, you just go to the point on the map, get the thing, and then go to the other point on the map and do the thing. I do this. This is something that I am at fault of, and probably something I will not change. But I still don't like it. I want to immerse myself in the world. I want it to be a story that I want to immerse myself in, and the World of Warcraft quest stories, for me, just isn't there. There's not a story that I really want to immerse myself in. I think that there are a large majority of people who really love the lore of this game, and they read all the quest texts, but I also think that most people just click through the quests. They're just like, okay, I just want to get this done. And so they don't enjoy the story. They don't get to be like, oh, I want to know what this is. I want to know why I'm doing this. I want to know where I'm going. It's just like, okay, well, it feels like the quests are like, we just need to give you the bare minimum reason to do something. And then the players are like, well, we don't even care about that. So I wish that it was a story that I'm like, ooh, I'm kind of curious to see where this goes. I'm kind of curious to see what happens. But it just hasn't been that for me. I've just been like, okay, well, I've tried. I've tried to read through the quest dialogue and be like, okay, I want to see what's going on. And I'm just like, wow, I'm so bored. And then I move on. And I am somebody who loves to read. I love a good story. But the story that World of Warcraft has offered me in its quest dialogue has not entertained me. And that's kind of makes me sad. Now I want to talk about a few things that I liked, but there were also pieces I didn't like, or I didn't like, but there were pieces that I liked. Kind of the mixed bag part of the list of things about World of Warcraft. The first one I want to talk about is grouping up. Grouping up is a core tenet of the gameplay in World of Warcraft Classic. Whenever I group up with people, I absolutely have a blast. I have so much fun whenever we group in the open world and band together to kill something, or group up so that we can all get quest credit on some quest. It's a lot of fun. I have a lot of fun contributing, feeling like I'm helping the team. Blizzard definitely hit the nail on the head when they had that in WoW Classic. However, I think that the group up culture has shifted into maybe not being what it was, or maybe I've just idealized it into something and I wish it was something else. But there's this culture where you group up, and maybe this is just unique to me, but every time I've grouped up, we do the thing, and then we disband. There's no long-lasting journey of a party of people working through a zone trying to accomplish tasks. That happened to me once, and I had a lot of fun, and I was sad when it ended. This is not something where I feel like I have built everlasting relationships through playing the game, where I've been able to meet people that I'm like, oh, I'm going to be friends with this person and recognize this person for the rest of my life or something like that. It's just been like, okay, we group up, we have fun, we do our thing, and then we're done. Which means the desire to return when you have friends waiting or something like that isn't there. There's no push to be like, oh, I want to get on and play with my bros or anything like that, because of that group up culture being lacking. Now, I will say there is a big flaw in my argument. I have never really participated in guild content. I've never joined a guild. I've never really had anything to do with guilds. When I've joined guilds, I've never really been able to put myself into the guild and be able to get along or link, mostly because I never stay with the game long enough to do so. But in grouping up, I've never been able to have any long-lasting, enjoyable experiences. It's always been just a blast of fun, and then it's over. Okay, so add-ons. Add-ons truly are a mixed bag. And honestly, it depends on what you're looking for, on whether they're a good thing or a bad thing or a little bit of both. But there are so many different add-ons that can do so many different things. And for me, I have found add-ons that have immersed me in the world, made it far easier for me to immerse myself in the game. And then there are also add-ons that remove me from the world, make it so that I'm just checking off a box, I'm just following a recipe, I'm just doing a checklist. And so that's why I say it's kind of a mixed bag. I love the add-ons that I have. I love the game without add-ons. There are some add-ons that I'm like, oh my gosh, it would be so annoying without this, but I did love the game without add-ons. And there are some add-ons that I've tried that I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm playing the game, I'm enjoying the game, but I do not feel immersed in this world. I do not feel like I'm playing an MMO. I'm feeling like they really just went numbers go up, causes me pleasure kind of a thing. That's really, they just filtered out everything else that was not that. So I think add-ons are an incredible addition, and the fact that it allows for creativity of the players is amazing, and I would never say get rid of them. But I do think that it is kind of a mixed bag depending on what experience you want in World of Warcraft, on whether you should have or shouldn't have add-ons. The final thing I want to talk about is the world of Azeroth. The world of Azeroth is huge. It is massive. And like I said, the population is big enough that a lot of it is very populated. However, I think it might be a bit too big, and I think it might be a bit too bare. There are so many cool things to see in this game. There are so many cool nooks and crannies where you can go. But beyond the fact of just saying I've gone there or I've never been there before, there's not really a lot of reasons to go somewhere. There's nothing like, oh, I've discovered this little area, so I got something cool out of it. Or there's not like, oh, I went here and I was able to do X, Y, and Z because I went here. It's just like, oh, look, there's a hut that's empty. And now I'm here at the hut that's empty. This is really cool. Now I'm never going to go here again. And a lot of places in World of Warcraft Classic, this is Burning Crusade, but it's the same idea. There's not really a good reason to be here. And there's just so much space. You kind of feel alone and empty. And the fact that you can feel alone and empty in the most popular MMO in the world means that it's a bit too big, I think. If I can get the sense of a vast world while still having the feel of having a lot of people, even if it's not as many people, then I would be happy. But I think this world is just full of empty space. There's just a lot of area that isn't doing anything and isn't being appreciated for what it is. It's just empty with NPCs just standing around, not really being interacted with, and a bunch of decorations that nobody really sees. I love the world of Warcraft, but there's a bit too much world in World of Warcraft. This is a game that I have absolutely loved. It's been a core part of my life recently, and I would not trade it for the world. I have loved playing it, and I'm glad I've had this experience playing it. There's, like I said, there are so many things that I love about it. There are some things I don't like about it, and there's some things that's kind of a mixed bag. But one thing I will say for sure, good, bad, and ugly, I have absolutely loved playing this game.